Story 1. When this entitled girl started working, she had a bit of an attitude, but we all figured it was because she was a rich high school kid at her first job. She often tried to push her work onto others and would sass anyone who asked her to do anything. Everything she did was filled with huffing and pouting. Sometimes, when the manager caught her trying to give her tasks to other people or asked her to do something, she would sit in the middle of the hall in the back room, taking up as much space as possible. If you asked her why, she'd say she was just so overwhelmed. A few weeks ago, I found a disposable vape on one of the counters. I asked if it belonged to anyone, and my coworker said it was theirs, but that they were going to throw it away. Important side note, this entitled girl and several other high school kids were recently caught by their parents doing a lot of hard and illicit substances, so they were all going through withdrawal from a few different things. I had other things to do, so I put it in my pocket and got back to work. Later, I remembered the vape in my pocket, and as my hand was over the garbage about to drop it in. Entitled girl, is that a puff bar? Me. Yeah, but it's burnt, so I'm chucking it. Can I have it? What? No, it's burnt. I don't care, can I have it? No, it's burnt, and you're supposed to be quitting this stuff. I put the vape back in my pocket. Seriously? You're not even going to use it. And I'm also not required to enable you. The rest of that shift, and the next few, she was very awful to interact with. This past weekend, the entitled girl showed up to work sick as can be with something. As people were coming in, I was handing everyone a paper mask. She declined, and it's not my job to make her wear one, so I let it go. A bit later, I was packing up some food to take on delivery when the entitled girl tried to hand me some food and a receipt. Can you call out this order for me? Me. Hearing her voice for the first time that day and realizing just how sick she is, so I jerked back from her. No, I'm packing my delivery order. Please? My voice is gone. No, I'm running behind on my work. Well, I can't, so. Drops the food next to me and walks away in a huff. At this point, I was just fed up. All the little remarks and rude comments got to me. I called out the order and left for my delivery while I contacted the general manager of the store to ask for advice. I have an autoimmune disorder, as do my mom and stepdad. It's risky for me to be going out as it is, and I was freaked out that I was working with someone as sick as that girl. I told the general manager that she had refused a mask at the beginning of the shift, and that she's incredibly sick with something while working with people's food. I laid out an ultimatum that either she at least puts a mask on or I'm going home so I can keep myself and my family safe. When I got back from my delivery, I had to grab another and go. But the entitled girl was now wearing a mask, although not covering her mouth or nose. The next time I came in, she was leaving to go home early. A few days later, the general manager and I had a sit-down. At first, I was a bit worried I did something wrong, but oh my God, it went better than I could have imagined. 1. The general manager is going to try to make it so the entitled girl and I don't work together and promise my hours would stay the same. 2. The general manager agrees that her attitude problem is getting worse and the girl is on thin ice. 3. The best one yet. Next time she comes in without a mask and refuses, she will get written up and sent home. Corporate policy is that everyone needs to have a mask on properly while at work, and she knows this. Victory. Update. She came in without a mask again today. The manager offered her a mask and asked her 3 times to wear one. The general manager came in, saw her without a mask, and gave her a talking to about the ridiculousness of all this as well as wrote her up. Then she came storming out of the back room after, and I thought she would punch someone to be honest, and basically yelled, "I can't believe I just got a write-up for not wearing a mask." She tried to claim she hadn't been asked, hadn't heard, etc. It was glorious. Edit. She was also walking around the back room talking about how she's going to find a new job, and she's going to go up to the general manager and say, "Forget you, I'm quitting." What she doesn't realize is our general manager is the kind of person who will laugh in her face and say, "Great, get out of my store." Story 2. This happened a few years ago when I was serving overseas with U.S. military. The location I was at was in a poorer area. There's a fair number of panhandlers, a lot of petty crime, and just people doing stupid crap. Well, one racket that goes on in this area, and apparently in other areas of the country too, is the local cops incentivize reporting vehicles with out-of-date inspection stickers. Apparently they give these people access to the inspection database if they think the sticker is fake or stolen, which actually does happen. If you drive a motorcycle, one of the things they tell you when you're in process is to keep the sticker in your wallet and not on the vehicle, or else it'll just get peeled off. Anyway, what these people will do if they find a car with an out-of-date sticker, or if they run the plates and find it's out of date, they will jimmy the door open, steal every single thing out of the car, and leave a note that they've taken it to the police station. The idea is that you show up at the police station to get your stuff, and they force you to pay the fine for an overdue sticker, and then give you a deadline for an inspection, or else you'll get another fine. Well, I came out to my car one morning and lo and behold, there was a note on my seat saying that all my stuff was at the local police station because my inspection sticker was fake, and I had to go get it. No, not only am I late for work, my kid is also going to be late for school because there's no bus and I have to drive her every morning on my way. Also, my inspection sticker is not out of date, so I have no idea what's going on. Now here's the thing that was extremely problematic, was I had put my passport and my wife kids in the glove box because I was taking them to the base to get some paperwork done, as well as grab some paperwork for my wife to apply for a new passport because hers was expired. I'm very forgetful, so I put them in the night before and made sure the car was locked. Yeah, dumb mistake. Anyway, I get to the station, ask them what the heck was going on, and then when I have them look at the inspection documents that the guy had taken, which clearly stated the car had been inspected and was current, they apologized and told me that they would give my things back, and I had to wait there for a second. I asked to file a police report for theft, but they looked at me like I had 3 heads and told me nothing was stolen, even though somebody broke into my car and took my things. This is when a light bulb went off in my head, and this might fall into the unethical category. The guy had taken officialist passports, which might be a problem, but probably nothing would come of it since they were turned right into the police. However, I asked him where my wife's passport was. They told me that whatever is there is there. I said I needed a police report because I needed to contact the U.S. Embassy about a stolen passport, and the fact that this police station would know exactly who the person was that stole it because they had dropped off my things that morning. I have never seen someone's attitude change as quickly as that cop's attitude changed. He tried to talk me out of filing a police report, but I was pretty insistent, so I went ahead with the police report, and then I did contact the embassy and reported the passport stolen and gave them all the information of the police station, and when I got the police report I emailed it to them as well. Wound up getting a free passport out of it for my trouble. The embassy told me they were going to handle it, and from what I heard, the person who broke into my car actually got arrested and fined and was looking at additional charges because he stole foreign documents. Really would have liked to have been a fly on the wall when one of the local cops rolled into wherever he was at and told him to come with them. I don't feel bad at all. Hopefully dude learned his lesson and I did not have any further issues until I PCSD home. Asterisk edited for grammar and mobile formatting errors, and because I'm getting screeched at about going out of my way to get someone in huge trouble for a minor offense. Story 3. About 6 years ago, I went to the local PO to mail packages to out-of-town family. It was a sunny, warm day, which is unusual given where I live. I was happy that my shopping was done early and I could actually enjoy the holiday season. I live in an old, small town. The town is probably 180 years old with a population of 15,000. Needless to say, the PO is tiny. We also have a large immigrant population. Most have been here for a few generations, but we still have some older immigrants. Upon entering the PO, there were 2 ladies ahead of me. The lady at the window was an immigrant who was confused about shipping her packages. The PO worker was being very kind and helping to repackage her gifts and explain how it would save her $. There was another lady ahead of me who has several packages. The worker who was helping her took her packages to the back and did not immediately return. Enter the Karen. She was about 60-ish, dressed in a business suit. As the line was not moving, she started tapping her foot and sighing. Then she started to mumble that she was in a hurry because she had a meeting to attend. Then she said it so loud that the nice lady helping the granny heard, and I swear she slowed down a bit. Karen continued to tap her foot and grumble, getting more peeved at each second. She was even insulting the immigrant granny. Finally, another worker appeared, and it was my turn. She grumbled that she should go ahead of me due to her meeting. I smiled sweetly at her and said no. Her face got red. I then told her that post offices are always busy at this time of year, and she should have planned better. Then she got really upset and grumbled more. I looked at her and said that everyone was in a good mood but her, and when I left, I would still be happy, but that she would not. As the steam came out of her ears, I went to the desk and the postal worker gave me a huge smile. As I left, I once again looked at the Karen, smiled and wished her happy holidays. It was lovely. Story 4. 35M here, fiancé is 29F. So last night my fiancée Yu and I had her friend and her friend's new boyfriend over for dinner. At first I didn't mind him until after dinner, and we were all chatting, getting to know each other. It was a typical idle chit-chat until the boyfriend kept trying to start the conversation towards talking about him. More importantly, his job. I completely understand being proud of your work, but this was unreal. First, he made sure to let us know how educated he is, which I think is perfectly fine, but the way he did it was almost to say he's better than everyone. I just let it go. I'm not the one going to be with him, so I don't have to deal with him. But what really bothered me was when he started talking about how much money he makes that kind of crap. He made it clear how big and powerful his $80K salary makes him. Again, I just brushed it off. Until he made a comment about me. The guy looks at me dead in the eye and says, "I could never live like you." I was caught off guard and had to say, "Hold up, what do you mean?" He dead-ass says, "Well, you don't have a job, you works, and you just stay at home while she brings home money. It's not a very manly thing to do." I need to put some information before I go on so you's friends know about me, but not the entire story. I asked her to not tell them because it makes people treat you differently. I'm 35, and yeah, I don't work, but that's for a very good reason. I did my time. I worked my ass off when I was younger. I made investments, and right now I own 30 rental properties. I bring in each year big time in 7 figures in residual income, so now I have no need to work. I just get to enjoy my life. I get to have freedom and enjoy my life with you. Her friends don't know that. Back to the story. I said, "What are you saying, I'm not a man because I don't work?" He said, "Well, I make a lot of money. I'm a man, men bring home the money." He had the balls so say that I could learn from him, that he could mentor me, he could show me how to be a man. Now, that was enough for me. I got sarcastic and said, "Oh yeah, about that." Bud, the thing is, I was deadpan staring him in the eyes. "I am a few years older than you, the guy is like 30. But Bud, I did my time in the workforce. In fact, now I don't have to work because without working, I still manage to bring in about 40x what you bring in a year. But I guess it's all about appearances with your big, powerful job. But maybe I can mentor you on how to be a man and actually make money." But yeah, Bud, I'll start here. People who actually have money don't talk about it. They don't brag. It's such a shitty low-class thing to do. Braggarts like you have jack shit. They only care about how they look and don't care what's actually important. Dude tried to say that people who have money show it off. And I said, "Oh, jack shit people who have money, at least the ones who keep it, try to stay low profile. But if it's things that get you off, I have several suites that are worth more than you car fuck. I have shoes worth more than your car." He'll take a look around. I don't have a mortgage. I own this house. I own everything inside this house. I have no debts. In fact, I get to enjoy my life every day. But again, I guess I'm wrong because for you, it's all about appearances. That pretty much killed the evening. They stayed another 15 to 20 minutes before leaving. My girl got a text from her friend saying I was an asshole for insulting her boyfriend, that he won't ever come back over. She said that I won't make friends being an asshole like that. Now I have a tight group of friends. I actually make friends easily. But yeah, that's it. Did I really do anything wrong? You wasn't mad, and she said she completely gets where I was coming from, but wished I could have let the entire thing go. I said, babe, you know me. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to stand up for you. Story 5. I've been a cop in this small Michigan town for years now, and let me tell you, dealing with entitled people is a regular part of the job. Seems like every month, we're responding to calls about some Karen or another causing trouble. But this one day, things got way out of hand. It was a pretty normal afternoon when we got an emergency call from the gas station on the edge of town. The dispatcher told us there was a woman refusing to leave the store, getting aggressive, and shouting racist stuff. My partner and I hopped in the cruiser and headed over right away. When we pulled up to the gas station, I could already hear the yelling from inside. We rushed to the door, and as soon as we opened it, we saw this woman, let's call her Karen, screaming at the top of her lungs at the cashier behind the counter. Karen, you stupid N-word. Before we could even step inside, Karen whipped out a can of pepper spray and blasted the poor cashier right in the face. I felt terrible. We were just a few seconds too late to stop it. I've been hit with pepper spray during training, and I know how much it hurts. We sprang into action immediately. I grabbed the pepper spray out of Karen's hand while my partner slapped the cuffs on her. As he read Karen her rights, I went behind the counter to check on the cashier. The poor guy was on the floor, crying and in serious pain. I helped him outside where we had a hose. We rinsed his face off as best we could, and then I ran to the store to grab some milk. That usually helps with the burning. After we got him cleaned up a bit, I could see he was still in rough shape, so I decided to take him to urgent care myself. On the way there, the cashier filled me in on what happened. He told me, "Cashier, I was just doing my job, you know? This lady comes in without a mask, and I politely tell her it's store policy, she needs to wear one if she wants service. She started arguing with me, saying she didn't have to wear a muzzle and that COVID was fake news." I nodded, having heard similar stories before. He continued, "Cashier, I tried to explain that it wasn't up to me, it was company policy. I even offered her a free mask we keep by the door. But she just got angrier and angrier. When I told her she'd have to leave if she wouldn't wear a mask, and that I'd call the police if she refused, she just lost it. Started screaming and calling me all sorts of horrible names." I shook my head, disgusted by Karen's behavior. The cashier went on, "Cashier, I called you guys right away, but she just kept getting worse. I was scared she might attack me, so I stayed behind the counter. Then you showed up, and well, you saw what happened next." I assured him he did everything right, and that Karen would be facing serious charges for her actions. We got to urgent care, and they took good care of him. After about an hour, the doctor said he'd be okay, just sore for a while. Meanwhile, my partner had taken Karen down to the station. She was booked on assault charges, along with a few other things like trespassing and disturbing the peace. I made sure to write up a detailed report, including the racist language she used and the premeditated nature of the pepper spray attack. Looking back, I wish we could have gotten there even faster. 7 minutes isn't a long response time, but it was long enough for that situation to go from bad to worse. It just goes to show how quickly these entitled people can escalate things. As for Karen, well, she'll have her day in court. But I hope she learns that treating people like that and ignoring simple rules has consequences. No one should have to deal with that kind of abuse, especially not someone just trying to do their job and keep people safe. Story 6. My mom, who is 71, has always been a very devoted, loving person who would make any sacrifice for her kids. She used to be kind and caring, but also a very anxious and stressed person. She is a stay-at-home mom. My brother, who is 7 years older than me, has 3 daughters. He lives 3 hours away from my mom, but despite this, my mom babysat my nieces for 18 years. Now he has stopped asking my mom for help, but up until 3 years ago, he would call my mom constantly and ask her to babysit my nieces because he had dinner plans, tickets for football, etc. Sometimes my mom would travel in the morning, babysit during the night, and return home the next day, a 6-hour round trip. For 18 years, my brother went on many holidays with his significant other and would leave the children with my mom and dad. The kids would be as young as 2 years old, and they would be gone for as long as 3 weeks. One of my nieces has a disability, which makes it very challenging to take care of her epilepsy, autism, but they couldn't care less. They would just leave the kids and go, countless times a year. My sister-in-law would also get her parents to babysit, but far less frequently than my parents, who were always on call. Over the years, my parents even stopped going on holidays or making their own personal plans because my brother would leave the kids at their house or ask them to come to his house with no warning. Here's my issue. About 3 years ago, I had my first child and expected my parents to be devoted grandparents. I would never ask the same things my brother asked my mom, but I did hope my mom would take care of her grandchild every now and then and babysit occasionally. When my son was born, my mom and dad stayed with us at my house and helped take care of the baby. Both of my parents visited us frequently for a year. I also live 3 hours away. First problem, after my son turned 2, the visits decreased to almost 0. If I ask my mom to come, she says she can't. No matter the reason, usually one of us is very sick, and we need help with my son. Second problem. The other change I noticed in my mom was that when we visit my parents, my mom tries to be as uninvolved as possible. She will take all morning to prepare a simple lunch. She will start cooking at 9 a.m. so she's always busy and can never spend time with my son. It breaks my heart because I know she's doing it on purpose. It's a big house, and if my son is in the kitchen, she will go to the basement. If I take my son to the basement, she will say she's too hot and go upstairs. She always has an excuse to either go out, be in a different room, or be extremely busy. Third problem. Initially, she had no problem letting my son bond with his grandfather. She would actually encourage my dad to be with my son, so she didn't have to. She would tell family and friends that my son had a strong bond with my dad, and that he wanted nothing to do with her. But her new plan is to stop my dad from having a bond with my son, because she doesn't want any of them to babysit my child. Every day, she makes sure my dad is very busy. We're here at my parents' house now, planning to stay for 2 weeks so my son could bond with them, and so my husband and I could go to the cinema or a restaurant. We have no other help or opportunities to do this during the year. This was our only chance. But she won't let us. She resents me for sleeping in a bit later or going out for a walk, even if I take my son. She's relentless in her criticism. She seems to dislike me for everything I am and always talks to me in a very angry way. As for my son, he is an adorable toddler, but takes time to warm up to people. If you give him some attention and play with him, he will always feel comfortable and happy with you. But if you don't, he will cry if I or my husband leave. My mom's actions have led to my son never wanting to be with her. She won't feed him, bathe him, or change his diaper. She won't take him for a walk, nor will she join us for a walk. She wants total detachment from him. And now, she's influencing my dad to do the same. How do I deal with this heartbreak? I feel like I've lost my mom while she's still alive. Help! Story 7. I, Ryan, and my twin brother Sebastian have never been close. In fact, he made my life difficult growing up, and my parents didn't help by playing favorites. They got him better stuff on our birthday, only went to see films he liked at the cinema, and gave him extra money for housework, even though we did the same amount of work. He would always put me down, belittle me, bully me with his friends at school, break my stuff, blame me for it, and was just a pain in general. Growing up, the only people I knew to rely on were my older sister Jane, my cousin Kai, and my best friend Isaac, who all knew what an awful person my brother was. Anyway, when I was 17, I had my first girlfriend, someone I loved very much. We didn't have sex because she wanted to wait until her 18th birthday to lose her virginity, but it turned out she was having an affair with my brother behind my back for half the time we were together. She only got caught when it was revealed she was pregnant. I was crushed. She knew how much I hated my brother and saw some of the awful things he did to me, but she still went and did that. Cheating is bad enough, but to do it with him of all people. I punched him in the face, broke his nose, and made him lose a tooth, but according to my parents, I was the one in the wrong. Now we had to help this girl who was carrying my brother's child and support them. My brother then said he had no intention of being a father and told my girlfriend to get an abortion. She ran out of town, and I never saw her again. I don't know if she had the baby or aborted, but all I know is she was gone, and my folks were still praising my brother as the golden child, while I was still the black sheep and failure, as usual. Another year went by, and my brother and I still despised each other, but I had started dating again. After a long while, I found someone, a boy I liked. I am bisexual, and this new guy Daniel, whom I met at college, caught my eye. He was deaf, and I studied sign language out of boredom, so we got talking, and things just seemed to click. We dated, fell in love, and I brought him to my friend Isaac's party to introduce him to friends, and all felt great. At this point, the only one who knew I was bisexual was Isaac. One day, while walking into a cinema holding my boyfriend's hand, I bumped into my evil twin. He pointed, laughed, and made some homophobic remarks. I told him to go away, and I went to see a movie with my arm around my boyfriend. When I got home after dropping my boyfriend off, I knew I'd be facing something as I walked through the front door. I saw both my parents on the sofa, my mother crying about how on earth she could have given birth to someone so disgusting. Was it too much to hope she saw the light and was talking about my brother? But nope, she was talking about me and how I'm a stain on our family's name. My father got up to yell at me, spouting homophobic remarks and slurs. At this point, I saw my brother up the staircase with a smug grin on his face. He then came down and said he was uncomfortable sharing a room with a homosexual, and my folks kicked me out right there and then. With what little clothes and money I had, I went to Isaac's house, and his family took me in. I stayed there for 6 months, actually experiencing familial love and affection. Isaac's mother and stepdad I now consider my own parents. Eventually, Daniel, Isaac, and I all got a 2-bedroom flat together, and all was good for the time being. So cut to December last year, my boyfriend, now husband Daniel, and I got married. Isaac was my best man. My sister and cousin Kai walked me down the aisle. I have a brilliant job in graphic design, my own house by the sea, and life has never been better. However, I got a call from my sister that my brother was in the hospital. I hadn't thought about him much over the 9 years since I was kicked out, but being reminded of his existence brought up a lot of painful memories. My sister told me that Sebastian wanted to see me urgently. So I went to the hospital and met my sister outside the front entrance. I asked her what this was all about, but she didn't tell me, saying I needed to ask my twin. So I arrived where my brother was, with my parents at his side, and my folks actually looked happy to see me, as if what they did to me hadn't happened. Sebastian also looked really pleased to see me. It was safe to say something was off. Eventually, I asked what was going on and why I was even there, to which my brother told the family to leave us alone. He looked so weak, whereas before, he used to intimidate me so much. He told me he was dying from kidney failure and had been for the past few years, but now he didn't have long left. I knew immediately where this was going. He then said he always regretted that we never got along, at which point I told him no. He looked confused and asked what I was talking about. So I simply told him I wasn't going to donate my kidney to save him. He looked as if I had just spoiled his meal. He then went on about how bad the situation was, and that he was really sorry for all the things we did to each other growing up. Like, excuse me, we did to each other. I told him that I just wanted a brother growing up who cared and loved me, who wouldn't try and break me every day for 18 years. He then called in our mom and dad, and told them that I wasn't going to give up my kidney. They then started to spout off that I owed them for my existence, and that I had a duty to look after family. I asked them where that duty was when they kicked me out of the house, where that duty was every time my brother gave me a black eye, or where that duty was to look after their grandchild when Sebastian decided he didn't want to be a father. I said that for all the things he had done, from outing me to having an affair with my girlfriend and abandoning his child. This was the universe's and my way of finally giving back what he dished out to bite him. I then turned around and walked out of the room, having that be the last time I ever saw Sebastian again. Not sure why they'd want a homosexual's kidney anyway. I walked past my sister, who gave me a look. I gave her a look back, which said, "I understand." After leaving the hospital, I felt as if a great weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I went home and never looked back, pleased with my decision. Now, last week I got a call from my sister informing me that Sebastian had died. She asked if I was okay, and I said I was, that I didn't really feel anything, in all honesty. She said she understood to a degree, as Sebastian hadn't been all that kind to her over the years either. I had my husband and Isaac there to support me. Honestly, at this point, Isaac may as well be our adopted child since he's living with us until this whole situation with the world is over. The next day, I was getting calls and texts from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me that I'm going to hell for being a bad son, a bad brother, and for being homosexual, and that my husband and I don't deserve children. My husband and I have been looking into adoption and surrogacy. This made me second-guess my choice of not giving my brother my kidney. Even in death, he was making things harder for me. I did wonder if I was a bad person and if I made the wrong decision, but I knew that if I were in that position, I would have been left for dead. Forget him. Other bits of information that may clear things up. His renal failure was from living a hardcore lifestyle of drugs and alcohol. My folks and sister did get themselves tested to see if they were matches, and none of them were. I disowned them as my family years ago apart from Jane, so when I got married, I took my husband's last name and hyphenated it with Isaac's last name, to which his folks were very pleased about. Some family Kai's folks and my dad's brother have actually called to see how I'm doing and say they don't judge me for what happened. Others, however, have continued with the abuse, whom I have now blocked. If he had been a good brother throughout my life, I'd have done it without a second thought. I'd have done the same for Jane, Kai, Isaac, and my husband. But I felt he didn't deserve it. It's unlikely I'll ever see my parents again, and I'll make sure my children will never meet them. My revenge to them will be being a better parent than they ever were.